How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like any other week, if you want a chance of one of your questions being answered in a video just like this one, make sure you drop a comment down below. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of the week. And it is, what is a good recommended mileage for a throttle body service interval? So in my opinion, I think it's a great idea to do one every 60,000 miles or so. And that seems to work out really well. By then, there's usually a pretty decent lip on it from the open part of the throttle body to behind the plate of the throttle body, usually about a millimeter or so of carbon buildup. So 1 millimeter may not seem like a lot, although it can cause some drivability issues. If you keep and ignore it and let that prolong, at times, specifically on the 9th generation 4-cylinder Accords, we see a lot of them with a start and shut off, and that is because the throttle body is stuck at that point. Typically, we will go in there, we'll clean it up, and it'll be as good as new, do our throttle body relearn, etc., which is very important. Every time you do these throttle body cleanings, you must do a relearn, or else it can either give you a low idle, a high idle, a stalling, things of that nature. So additionally, you also see sometimes causing stalling conditions. And on the 9-speed transmissions, we get a particular code that people assume it is a transmission, and it is not. I found that to be the case for probably 5 or 6 different ones at this point. Some Acuras, some Hondas, same trans, same engine, very similar setup here. And the code is P2638, and it is as a trans code, so people assume automatically something with the transmission itself, which the case is not. It's actually all due to a dirty throttle body. Now, that's a rare case, but again, very different, a couple different things that can happen here with that dirty throttle body. So if you're going to change it or clean it, I would think 50, 60, 70,000 miles or so, or every couple of years, maybe every 3-4 years, maybe 5 years. Good idea to go in there. You don't need anything special. I have a full video on this, which I'll link in the description section down below. And just take a shop towel, some carb cleaner, some brake clean, anything like that. Don't spray directly in there. Spray on your shop towel. Go in there, key off. Make sure your ignition is not on. You don't want that throttle snapping back at you, and obviously doing some severe damage to your finger. So make sure car is off. Unplug the battery if that makes you feel safer. Go in there, clean it, and then just relearn it. Put everything back together, and you are good to go for the next 50, 60,000 miles. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so the next question is why are always dealers trying to upsell work every time you go in? So it's designed that every time you go in, that we look at the vehicle and recommend whatever you may need. Now, it starts early. By your second oil change, you'll probably be needing to do at least a rear diff service if your vehicle is all-wheel drive, and at least a rotate. Now, we'll check your filters. If they're dirty, we will recommend them, obviously. If they're not, then they won't, and so forth. Then every other oil change or so, you are doing something. That's just the way it is, because it's easier to do something in small increments than ignore everything and let it build up to a big ball of recommendations and then recommend them on there. Now, usually when a customer hasn't been there in a while, you're going to have a large recommendation list because, you haven't been there, and chances are wherever you're taking your vehicle does not know the vehicle as good as we do, and we know everything basically just off of repetition, seeing what breaks, what consistently gets worn, what consistently gets ripped, gets damaged, gets some play, etc., etc. We know these cars 9 out of 10 times better than anybody else out there. Now, doesn't mean that you can't, find a good technician outside of your dealership. Obviously, there's plenty of great technicians out there, automotive independent shops, some mobile guys, etc. And there's some bad techs in a shop, dealers, mobile guys, etc. as well. So it goes both ways. But if you bring it to the dealer, we're going to find most cases something before any of these other independent shops. In most cases, again, like I said already. So that's just the way it is. You do not have to get these recommendations done there, but just for your knowledge, we will recommend them to cover us. Make sure you are as informed as possible. And you can make that decision. If you don't want to do the filters at the dealer, fine, go home, go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever, pick up your own filters and do them yourself if you could. That's fine, you don't have to get everything done at a dealer. Although, if they're dirty, and go ahead and pull them out yourself, most times we show video now proof of these things, then you know that this is the case. And again, you could go ahead and do it yourself if you wanted to go save some money. But if you bring it to your dealer, this is the part of the job that we do. We have to look at the vehicle and recommend to you what we see. All right, so the next question is about quoting over the phone. And I get this a lot of times, usually on emails or DMs or things of that nature. If it's something straightforward, for example, some fluids, just some regular maintenance, it's not too big of a deal. Now, some people just want to shop around, which is fine. Although usually when it's a quote about a certain repair, even if it's something as simple as, let's say, some spark plugs. Now, you may bring us the car, we'll give you a quote, and you bring us the car. Here's the car for the spark plugs. Great. We go and look at it, and you have a different issue. You want to do your spark plugs, and we see this a lot because of a misfire. And guess what? It's probably not your spark plugs. So at that point, you're going to say, well, you already quoted me the spark plugs. And this is where the lack of communication becomes an issue. So in order to avoid that scenario, we usually tell people, just bring the car in, you pay the diag fee, whatever it is at your local dealer or repair facility, get it diagnosed properly, and then we could go ahead and proceed with the repair if everyone is on agreement. Now, if you bring us the car, we replace the spark plugs and the issue's still there, then you're going to be upset at whatever repair facility was, even though that's what you came in for. So that's why a lot of times we try to avoid this thing, unless if it's something straightforward, air filters, fluids, a time belt package, which could get dicey too because it may or may not need an oil pump reseal. So again, it becomes very problematic if we go ahead and give you a price and then you get there with an idea of spending that money and then it ends up being some additional work or something completely different from what you're asking us to give you a quote on. So hopefully that answers the question for you. All right, so next question is, what is the proper crush washer orientation? So here in front of me, we have a trans crush washer here, and I'm going to try to get the camera to focus on that. So it may be hard to tell, but this side here is the flat side. And this side here has got a more rounded side. Now, what I like to do is I like to put the flat side towards the surface. So either the pan or the transmission case or whatever the case may be. And I like to put the curved side towards the bolt. Now, I don't really think it matters. That's just something I personally like to do. I think it's a lot bigger of a deal if you don't change it at all and you completely ignore it or you use the wrong one. Now, these things are cheap. When you go to your dealer for a trans service or maybe more specifically an oil change to get a filter and a washer, just pick up a couple of washers, pick up a couple of filters. If you're not having your oil change done at a dealer and you haven't done at a repair facility, a Jiffy Lube or something quick, a quick oil change spot, I would absolutely hand them a crush washer so they have no reason not to change it. 9 out of 10 times, aluminum stripped oil pans are because they were either the washer wasn't replaced and or over torqued. So very simple to do. I personally like to, again, flat side towards the surface and then the curve side towards the the drain plug or whatever the case may be. But that's what I like to personally do. Again, I don't think it really matters. That's what I've always done. That's what I'm going to continue to do. More importantly, make sure these are being changed every single time because us humans, we have way more power than we think. And 9 out of 10 times, none of these are getting torqued with a proper torque wrench. So very important that this gets changed. The orientation, sure, but get it changed. And I'd be a happy camper a lot more than you worry about the orientation. So hopefully that's the question for you. All right, and last but not least, question of the week. And once again, if you want a chance to win your question being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below. So the last question is, what has been going on with these Prologues? So a couple of weeks ago, I posted a couple different clips of different Prologues, a lot of odds and ends. I've done 2 batteries so far. So by batteries, I mean the high voltage batteries, which I had a video on of me lifting the car off of the battery. And I have a full video that I had to finish editing from a point of view. So I had a GoPro strapped to my head. I'm going to try to edit that for one of these Wednesdays videos, just so you guys know what's actually involved in replacing one of these batteries. It's not as difficult as it seems. There's more programming and more removing and everything than it actually is difficult to actually remove the battery. So anyways, moving on. So we've had 2. We're waiting on our 3rd one that we're going to be doing. So I've done 2. Another guy's going to be doing that 3rd one of these high voltage batteries. The most common issue we are seeing is with the heat/AC, and they need to be working perfectly together for the car to drive, to cool, to charge, etc. So we've been getting a lot of those codes for the AC. We've been doing some check valves. There's some pipes that are restricted, so these pipes are on back order until March 3rd, I believe there is. So a lot of these things take a couple extra time to get because this stuff isn't coming from Honda. So they have to source the parts from wherever they get them from, and then sometimes maybe even through GM, and then we get them. But that's been the most common things. Also a couple of heater boxes that I've heard had some of the gears just misaligned, not causing the car not to have the right heat AC blend or whatnot. But that doesn't give you an issue as far as charging or driving the vehicle, just heat inside the actual vehicle. So these AC pressure lines and valves actually affect the car from driving and charging, so that's a big deal. And just a lot of little, things. I had one that was a soft set connection. I had one that the moonroof wasn't, programmed correctly and stuff like that. I had a couple of doors not working correctly for the charge port. So a lot of small things. So there've been plenty of issues. We have, I believe, 7 or 8 down currently as I make this video. Again, March 3rd seems to be the TA for those lines, and they all have the same issue, the same codes, same issue, same everything. So just something that we're going to have an adjustment to, and hopefully we can get these cars back on the road. Other than that, they drive absolutely great. There's been some axle noises. That seems to be kind of under investigation, but some clicking going on while turning left and right, typically early on in a vehicle's life. So obviously not anything you want to hear, but they do drive great. The power is nice. It's very torquey, and then it dies off a little bit top end. But I would think that to lease one would be a good idea. To own one and purchase one long term, I would probably say don't do it. But that's completely up to you. Especially considering this is a GM product, the partnership is already over. So we'll see what happens from here. But I plan on making a video on the Prologue, full detailed video on everything that I have been seeing over the last year once we get to that point. But just a small recap of everything here. The biggest issues being obviously those high voltage batteries. It's about a 3-week process from you bringing it in, from us ordering it to receiving it to installing it. So a lot of downtime. And then these, AC issues as well. Probably a good 4 to 6 weeks or so of downtime if we have to continue on waiting on these lines. So hopefully they come off a back order soon. Hopefully they have enough of them to where we could just have them on demand, on supply, in the shelf. If we need one, it's there, great. It's a small job. Just the whole waiting period. And it does completely disable the car from charging it. So it's undrivable if the code keeps popping back up because you can't charge it and, obviously get from A to B without some battery voltage. So hopefully that answers the question for you, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.